Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal. And you may ask yourself who I'm talking to. It's Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey David, how you doing tonight?
Good. What's the rest of your t-shirt? I could just see the top line there. You may ask yourself, what's the rest?
How did I get here? My God, what have I done? It's all lyrics from a song from Talking Heads. Same
I
as it
see.
ever
Oh,
was.
you may ask yourself. I got that. All right. Very famous song.
Once in a lifetime. Yes, it is a brilliant song. And I got a shirt courtesy my good friend Darcy Woodguy McLeod. So
There you go. Nice gift.
yeah, I love it. Nice shirt.
Speaking of gifts, Bruce, the Oilers might have given one, a little bit of one to the Detroit Red Wings. I mean, you can't win every game, so we got to
Nope.
accept that.
Nope.
This was a pretty rancid effort, especially in the first period, where the Oilers left rookie goaltender Stuart Skinner to the Wolves, and I think what was it? Was it how many grade A shots in the first? 11.
11-2 for Detroit. 11-2.
He was bombarded and
Mm-hmm.
he hung in there. He did enough for his team to win. Anyway, we'll talk about that more. So, our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcasts on Edmonton's 3-2 loss to the Detroit Red Wings, game 11 of the season. Bruce, what's your good thing?
Well, my good thing is the guy who made the atrocious blunder on the game-losing goal against, and that's Stuart Skinner, who otherwise did have an absolutely outstanding game and was hung out to dry by his teammates from the start. And I'm a little disappointed in my team, frankly, to play such a stinker in front of a kid playing such an important game for himself. But the boys left it on the plane or something. And I will give 100% full credit to Detroit. They were flying. They were winning the battles. They were winning the races. They were winning the puck. They were taking it to the net and they were playing hard. And they dominated that game right up to 3-0. And I guess after the bad goal that made it 3-0, after Skinner had done everything in his power to keep Edmonton in the game, at that point, Oilers started to play a little bit better in sort of the second 30 minutes of the game, but the deficit proved to be too big. But give Skinner credit. He made some outstanding saves against, what was it, 19 grade A chances tonight, and 16 of them he stopped. And, he was, some of them were point blank shots from some, again, strong play by Detroit, but some pretty, to use your word, rancid defending by the Oilers defense and forwards, who abandoned ship on more than one occasion and left the young goalie to his own devices. And I thought he responded well to the challenge. Like I say, extremely unfortunate that that goal not only went in at all, but that it turned out to be the difference in a one-goal game. But I'm not putting that loss on Stuart Skinner. Not in 1,000 years am I blaming the goalie for that loss. He was about the 19th worst Oiler in that game.
There was one stretch in the first period, Bruce, where Detroit had 5 grade A chances
In a
in
row.
in 80 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And Barry, Tyson Barry and Evan Bouchard were stuck out on the ice together. Bouchard was already really tired but he was not allowed to shift off. I don't know who failed to get the puck out, but I do know that Jesse Puljujärvi made an absolutely stinker of a line change. And I know
Yes.
you can't say anything bad about Jesse Puljujärvi, but I'm going to do it.
Yep.
That was horrendous.
Yep.
It was in the neutral zone, and it kicked off this sequence where Bouchard stuck on the ice,
Mm-hmm.
and they just got shelled. But Stuart Skinner, he was really good. That's the best I've seen him play.
Mm-hmm.
He looks every time I see him play now, he looks better. He looks more like an NHL goalie. He sure looked like an NHL goalie tonight. I agree, Bruce. That's a excellent choice. Is a good thing. My
Short
my
list.
what's that?
It's a short list. The only other item on my list was the Oilers penalty kill, and especially the one in the third period. But otherwise, Skinner was kind of the obvious choice for me.
I liked a few players. I liked Yamamoto's effort. I liked Hyman's effort.
Mhm.
But I really, in terms of who I thought played well, I thought Cody Ceci and Duncan Keith had a really solid game. Uh, Keith, every time he touches the puck, he's just so calm with it. He's crafty and smart with it. CC is surprising me all year long. He's surprised me. He's big, he's fast, he can make a pass, and he's a solid defender. He's considerably better than I thought he was going to be. And that partnership tonight, they got beat on one grade A chance, which was kind of a marginal chance, a tip in front of the net, I thought, which was so. But they were, whereas the rest of the defensive pairings absolutely were crushed, including Darnell Nurse, who had a high event game with some good stuff on the attack, but some bad stuff on defense. Those two guys shut it down and played solid hockey. And if the rest of the team had played like that, the Oilers would have won this game. But not to be, not to be. Bruce, your bad thing.
Oh, I've got a few choices on that front. I'm going to go, I think, with the play of the third line, which just isn't getting it done.
No.
And I thought, I mean, they switched things up a little bit tonight. They put Kyler Yamamoto there for a little while, and then of course Zach Kassian left the game with some kind of a injury in the first period, and they wound up bumping Yamamoto up to the second line. But the third line they got beaten on the first goal against in the first period, and mind you, that was brutal plays by both Kukuk and Barry. That was part of it. But their back checking just wasn't there, David. Wasn't there on that play, and it wasn't there on any other play. It didn't seem like it. Um, it was, the two defensemen and the goalie against the world, or the one defenseman that was left and the goalie. But the forwards weren't really flowing into the lanes on the back check. And that said, the worst shift of the game, you already touched on it, with Evan Bouchard and Tyson Barrie getting caught out at the end of a shift that was 2 minutes 55 seconds for Bouchard, and he played a full shift with Nurse, couldn't get off, and then they couldn't get the puck deep enough to let him get off, and this was even with the short change, he just couldn't do it. So it was well, and on that occasion it was a different line that was out there. It was Fogle, but I think it was Nugent Hopkins and Kassian.
Yeah.
And Kassian, let's just put it this way. I hope he was already nursing whatever it was that knocked him out of the game, because that was as pathetic a shift as you can imagine that Kassian delivered. Just beaten constantly to pucks by pinching Detroit defensemen. They'll just skate around him and go get the puck. And it was maybe he was already whatever he hurt, or maybe he got hurt during that shift and he just couldn't get off, or whatever. But he absolutely got owned out there on that shift. But all of them did, because the forwards they just were nowhere to be found. And
Yeah.
there was a play where Barry, it's on the first goal. Now I remember Barry went and got the puck, and he got crunched in the corner, and he fed it around the boards, and Kassian was nowhere near it. And maybe was it a goal? It was a really bad play. Barry
No,
fed it around the
it
boards,
wasn't a
and
goal. It was a pass
it was
down low that
it
came
was this
out of
shift,
pattern.
yeah. And Kassian got beat to the puck, and Barry's lying in the corner, and only Bouchard is left, and it's like 4-on-1 for Detroit on what was a clearing pass by Edmonton, and all the forwards were out past the blue line going, oh, maybe I should do something about that. And I just thought the effort from the forwards, and especially the checking line forwards, just wasn't there, and very disappointing. And it's I mean, if they're never going to score, and they haven't scored squat. I mean, Derek Ryan scored in game number 2 against Calgary, and he's got 9 games now without a point. So if you're not going to do that, then you better be doing a little better on keeping the puck out of your own net. And anyways, I'm conflating. There was a lot of bad stuff in this game, and I'm kind of conflating some of it, but it was all kind of the same general thing. I mean, I'm disappointed primarily in the Oilers in terms of the overall flow to the game. And again, just to step back, full credit to Detroit. I was very impressed with how well they played and how they took advantage of their opposition and really put the pressure on them and forced them into making mistakes. So I mean, it's always a little of this and a little of that, but But Oilers were the second best team on the ice tonight, and despite making the score close in the third, I thought the better team won and deserved to win.
My bad thing, Bruce, is Bouchard's play. Man, he had a night to forget. He had a nightmare. He had a nightmare on defense. Bruce, all season long at even strength in the first 10 games, he had made just 14 major mistakes on grade A chances against, which is pretty good for a defenseman, especially because he was starting to play some tough minutes.
Mm-hmm.
14 in 10 games. In this one game, he made 11. He made 11 major mistakes. That is a record.
Wow.
Since we've been tracking this, we've not seen that before. And no one's hit double digits. So that was a really bad, horrible, rotten, no good night on defense, kind of culminating on a play that Craig McTavish took the time to rip between the intermissions, second and third, in the second
Rightfully
intermission,
so.
because there was a point shot, kind of a, was it tipped or was it a rebound? Anyway, it went to, I think it was, what do you recall? Let's have a look here.
It
Point
come off
shot,
the
and
end boards. Buddy got behind Bouchard, and Bouchard just kind of floated out into the slot above him, and Buddy got
yeah, it was,
behind him. And it was a deflection,
yeah,
and the guy, Nemesnikov, controlled it on the edge of the crease, and he tapped it in with absolutely zero back pressure or front pressure from
from
the
Bouchard.
D-man because
Bouchard was puck
Bouchard
watching.
had abandoned ship.
Yeah, he was puck watching and not thinking about his main job, which is defensive fundamentals.
Yeah.
And this is easy to do for defensemen, I can assure you.
Mhm.
But he totally blew that play. He blew a lot of plays. He you know, he made some good plays on the attack and almost scored
Some
late in the game. Hyman set him up and he almost scored there. That was mainly on Hyman, that great play. And would have been nice if Barry Bouchard had roofed it, like
finished it, yeah.
finished it, and gotten the Oilers to tie that game up.
Hmm.
But this just wasn't his night, and he'll be better. That I don't think that's, it's as I say, this this kind of game was an anomaly, not in Oilers history, but for Bouchard this year.
Hmm.
He's been pretty good on defense,
Hmm.
and hasn't leaked badly all year, but tonight he did, and that's going to happen now and then to a young defenseman in the NHL.
He was fighting the puck big time, and not just in his own zone. Like there was a few times where he flat out whiffed on pucks,
Yeah,
and he was trying to make a play or a pass, and he just completely whiffed on it. Like it's just like maybe his coordination wasn't quite there, and he got an assist on the McDavid goal when according to Jack Michaels, he nearly put it in his own net and it went behind the net. Nurse picked it up and he carried it all the way to the blue line and passed to McDavid, who carried it the rest of the way and scored. So Bouchard got one of the more uh, um, unusual second assists in recent memory. So he came away on the night 1-4-1 against, as it turned out. But uh, the uh, it was a real major struggle for Bush tonight, and hopefully lessons will be learned, as McTavish suggested in his intermission spot.
McTavish called him a smart player. It's
Hmm.
clear that he is extremely smart
Yeah.
hockey player. So I think lessons will be learned there, and uh, you know, you just possibly need to have a night like that now and then to refocus, recalibrate your game, and get it back to, in defense first, take care of your own end, and no worry about other stuff later. Bruce, what's your number?
We're there already. Okay. I will go with. Well, I'm going to go with Evan Bouchard, and this is the weirdness of this player, that the possession stats go in his favor more nights than not, and they did tonight. Believe it or not, the Oilers had 26 shot attempts to 20 for um, Detroit when Bouchard was on the ice, which was 20 minutes and 15 seconds. He actually played the most of any Oilers defenseman tonight, Evan Bouchard, even more than Nurse. That surprised me. But they were 26 to 20. Shots on goal were 15 to 14. Scoring chances were 13 to 16. High danger chances, again, this is all natural stat trick, 6 to 13. And that is the stat that nailed his actual performance tonight. Not Korsky, but high danger Chanskis. 6-4, 13 against on his watch. And the 13 were, well, matched by Tyson Berry, who also had a struggle of a night tonight,
Sure did.
but not quite so many. I don't think quite so many mistakes on scoring chances. And so it was one of those nights where it depends which column you want to look at as to which one more accurately reflects the play. And to me, it was at those 13 high danger chances against that um, still, and of course, by our count, directly involved in three grade A shots for the Oilers. One beautiful pass to McDavid on a give and go in the zone. That
Yes.
dangerous shot from in close. But as you say, 11 against, and that is just way, way outside the bounds of what's acceptable.
Bruce, my number is a positive number.
Okay.
Darnell Nurse, my number is 9. He's got 9 points, all of them assists so far in his 11 games. So there was some concern that Darnell Nurse, his offense would evaporate. I mean, I think people were specifically focusing on his goal scoring, that he couldn't replicate that number. I mean, goals, assists, whatever the defenseman's doing on the attack, if he's making major contributions, if they're not like cheap secondary assists, and Nurses generally aren't, because he's such a dynamic attacker. Um, Tonight he had a fantastic, absolutely fantastic play where early in the third period, his team down 3-1. He took the puck from behind his own net and just absolutely charged up the ice, just blistered up the ice. And then in Draisaitl-like fashion, um, shot a backhand pass right across the ice to Connor McDavid, who was streaking in and scored a goal. It was a great goal by McDavid, using his speed and fooling a goalie that way. But Nurse's play on it was indicative of the kind of offensive play we've been seeing from him last year and this year. The guy can move the puck, often with his feet, sometimes passing it. He can shoot the puck really hard. He's going to score some goals. I mean, I don't care. Like if he gets 5 goals and 50 assists this year, Bruce, that's not going to be a step back offensively, I don't think. And I don't know if he's going to do that, but maybe. Um, he he is really good. He's going to be on Team Canada. I was thinking, Bruce, the Oilers could have Hyman could be on Team Canada, McDavid, Nurse, and Nugent Hopkins. If you're looking at a power play for Team Canada, it would be awfully tempting to have Ryan Nugent Hopkins on that power play, because you can also play him on the PK, and then you just have him as your fourth line winger. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's 4 Oilers on Team Canada at the Olympics at this point. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Anyway, and Nurse will be one of them, and deservedly so.
He's the second most likely of those four to me.
Yes. Yeah.
He also had a great play tonight where he uh, probably saved a goal with a great defensive play where it looked like the puck had bounced right to the guy who was going to power it home, and Nurse made kind of a diving play to chip the puck away from the guy and into the corner when it looked like Skinner was dead to rights. And he's a high event player. He always has been. I suspect he always will be. And you're going to find mistakes if you study his game closely. But he makes so many positive plays in the course of the game that, on balance, I got room for him on my team.
Even if it's Team Canada.
Even my team, Canada. Yep.
Yeah, me
No
too.
problem.
I mean, you have to look at it closely, and I haven't. I've done it in the summer, but I haven't looked at it this year. But Nurse is having a pretty good year. He's I think just a little bit better than what he was last year, I would say. Like his physical play's been, his defensive acumen's been a little bit better. His physical play a little bit more aggressive,
Mhm.
and his offensive play every bit as good. So yeah, I've liked Darnell Nurse, and he's on the last year of a contract, which is one of the ultimate value contracts right now in the NHL. That's paying him what, 5.5 a year for a number one D man that plays like that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. He's
value.
still on value for money this year for sure at 5.6. There's a lot of defensemen getting paid more than that, and there's not as many defensemen that are better than Darnell Nurse. It's a much
Indeed.
shorter list.
Alrighty. Any other thoughts, Bruce? Any final thoughts? Moving on. When's our next game? Thursday?
Yeah, I was a little sour in the third period that the men in stripes couldn't see a single Detroit foul. I got to say it. Like McDavid, the guy shoved his stick right into his skate and hauled him down, sent him crashing into the boards. Draisaitl got pitchfork coming out of the corner. Yamamoto on his partial breakaway and the penalty kill, the guy gave him a one-handed whack. And I'm not sure if he got him on the hand or not, but they call that stuff all the time, and they didn't call it. And it's like Edmonton's power play. It's like the refs have in the back of their mind, well, that power play is such a weapon. We better be sure, really, really sure, before we give them a power play in a close game. And so what's the point? You have a great power play, and it's like it's a factor in whether the call gets made or not. And that's really frustrating. When Draisaitl went down, which was the third of them, it was a clear, like he got pitchfork coming up behind the net. And my living room was a little blue at that point. Got to say it.
Yeah, I mean, they could just be also.
I'm not saying the reffing was the difference. I am saying that there was no calls when the game was on the line, when there was fouls taking place, and it's frustrating.
Protecting the home team's lead, like the home team, the underdog here, they might have been getting into that mindset. Who knows what they're thinking, Bruce? But call the penalties. Call the penalties. Let that power play roll. Yeah. Make them earn the game. That's how you earn a win.
And they killed 2 penalties. Detroit, more power to them.
You get that penalty in the third period and you kill it off, you've really earned that win, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's when you've really come through. And it's usually part of most games where the team has the lead and it usually takes a penalty or two and they got to kill it off. So why not have it if there are penalties? Call them. All right, Thursday night against Boston. Yeah.
And Friday against Buffalo.
Ooh.
And the word is that Smith is close and that we might see Koskinen and Smith back to back, and with Skinner going back to the farm with this one start as a reward for his being a good soldier all this time. And I mean, hopefully we get back to situation normal before too long in the net minding situation where you've got 2 guys sharing the load. So, and Skinner, for his part, he showed real well. He's
making it interesting for the Oilers because Smith has 1 year left on his contract.
2. Koskinen has 1. Smith has 2.
Smith this year.
After this year.
Sorry, yeah, yes. one year after this one. Yeah. So it's good, and Skinner's going to have used up his waiver eligibility after this year. Yeah. So it's going to be use him or lose him, probably. He's done enough in the AHL. I think he'd get taken by another team. Maybe. And so yeah, they have to make a decision. Like, are they going to, if they trade for a goalie this year? And Elliot Friedman was suggesting they're going to trade for a goalie and a left defenseman on his podcast. Are they going to try to just get a rental, or are they going to try to get a guy that's your long-term starter? And if you do that, what does that mean for Skinner? And do you really want to hem yourself in there?
The other way in the trade for they might as well if they're going to get a long-term starter. It sure would be nice to see this team develop a goalie through their own system.
Well, they just
10 or so years.
They are doing it. They are doing it right now before our eyes. We're seeing it because we saw how Skinner didn't look like he was going to be an NHL goalie 3 or 4 years ago when he first got to the AHL. I guess it's 4 seasons ago. This is his fourth pro season. Yeah. He didn't look like it. He was awkward, and he let in a lot of bad goals, and he lost his net a lot. Man, he has come along. He looked so good that game, aside from that one bumbling play. I mean, that can happen.
But even that, like he bumped it off the boards, and it was coming back to himself, and he was just going to bounce it behind the net. And Dylan Larkin, who's the fastest player on Detroit and one of the fastest players in the league, was on him like greased lightning, and he made a perfect play to lift his stick from behind. Like Skinner didn't even know he was there, and he lifted his stick and tapped it in the net. It was like less than a heartbeat, and it was like, oh, he flubbed the pass. Oh, it's in the net. I was like, how did that happen? It was like it looked like he still had control, and it was a great play, improvisational play by Dylan Larkin. But it sure looked bad on the netminder. There's no two ways about it.
You know what I know about hockey, Bruce, is hockey happens fast.
Sure
Hockey happens fast.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, boom,
Yeah.
one microsecond, and the puck's in the net, and it's your fault. So, all right. Thanks for talking tonight, Bruce.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast. Thought you were going